Well, it shocks me that people are upset about draft picks in New York. I mean, that never happens. So, no, we talked about this yesterday. If you believe that he's your guy, then you spend whatever you need to spend to go get him. And it made a lot of sense for them to take Daniel Jones. He has a pedigree that's similar to the guy that they love in terms of Eli Manning. He's an efficient passer that people talk about that he doesn't have a strong arm. But with Pat Schumer's system, it's a West Coast offense. It's not predicated on these deep shots. It's more catch and run. It's about making the right read. It's about being efficient. It's about and he is fully committed to that system. So from a fit that way, it also makes sense. When you look at the market, Daniel Jones' market was real. He could have potentially gone to Miami. There was some feeling for him in Washington as well. Who knows what Denver would have done? So when that market is real, you've got to take him where you need to take him. We saw with Patrick Mahomes. That market was real. What did Kansas City do? They jumped up in front of New Orleans, and they took the guy that they wanted. So for the Giants, guy that they like, a system fit, we'll see how it works out. But it makes sense why they took him where they took him.
Last year, Gettleman, all those quarterbacks available, he said, my mom could have made this pick. This guy's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. His mom wouldn't have picked this one, Coach. So I got to disagree with you. Now, even though he has the same start point as the coach, he is not Eli Manning in college. He is not Peyton Manning. Go back and watch them in college.
Wasn't them in high school either.
Oh, I mean, they were elite of the elite ever since they led that high school down there, Newman something, in New Orleans. They led them to state championships year after year. They were some of the top recruits in college football, and they were some of the best college players. If you would have asked me to name 20 to 30 college players, I would have gone over them, and you wouldn't have heard of Daniel. You wouldn't have heard of damn Jones. All right? So in the college football that I watched, he was not one of the better players. Now, do respect coach's opinion, and I do understand. Because I've been in NFL locker rooms. I've been sitting in my house. Man, we need this kind of player. In the organization, Dennis Green, there is no one in football. I believe in his evaluation. I saw what he would do with players, how he cooked personalities and how they would fit. But there was a lot of times I was puzzled by what Denny was doing. Man, there was a one time that we needed a defensive end, and they drafted Dante Culpepper out of Central Florida. I'm like, what? Hey, bro.
Right after going 15-1.
I only got a couple years left.
Yeah.
We just went 15-1, NFC Championship, Moss, and we got two quarterbacks. We got Cunningham, we got Brad Johnson, we got two quarterbacks. They take, you know what we passed on? Javon Curse. Man, we could have used a pass rush. But I believed in the player, so I have seen this through the years. People fall in love with a certain guy. I'm not going to say that he's a better fit for the Giants than Dwayne Haskins, because if Eli is planning on playing a couple more years, they need to have someone with the personality and temperament that is comfortable sitting. And I don't believe Dwayne Haskins would have been that. So I can understand why they say, hey, this guy fits into what we're trying to do. Eli and him, they got a relationship. Okay, but I need you to live with the results. And when you were on the board at 6, your mother nor anyone else in your family thought you were going to select him.
Coach, I agree with you on one point, which is if he's your guy, you don't wait till 17 because he could be gone. So my problem is not they took him at 6 instead of 17. My problem is that they took him at all. And here are the box. He played under David Cutcliffe after he wasn't offered a scholarship and his high school coach called Cutcliffe and convinced him to give him a gray shirt. And yes, he is 6'5". And he's 220 pounds. And all that height and all that weight led to him being the 7th or 8th best passer in his own conference this year. And yes, he was at the Manning Passing Academy for 2 straight years, and Peyton liked him, and Eli liked him. He checks a lot of those boxes. In fact, he might check every box you want for the 6th overall pick, except for I watched him play his games. And those boxes are left wanting.
How many Duke games did you watch?
What? Duke games in full during the regular season? 0. But once Daniel Jones... Right, but
you watched him play
season.
His games, which equals to I watched him play 0
games. In real time during the regular season. Correct. Okay. But once all of a sudden I am hearing that Daniel Jones, when we're doing the draft prep and we're talking about it on the show, is going to go over Dwayne Haskins, I said to myself, well, I better figure out who the hell this guy is and why. And you watch him, and what's the game other than the bowl game where he was extraordinary, or, as Gettleman said, the handful of series in the Senior Bowl where the guy jumps off the page? It doesn't exist. And as we listen, it is a crapshoot, and guys are wrong. I understand that element of it. I would have rather gone with this roll of the dice in the crapshoot. The process of Sam Darnold, Odell Beckham, and either Josh Allen or Ed Oliver, this year's pick, over the one they went with, which is Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and Dexter Lawrence. Those are the same assets, the pick you got for Odell, the pick you used on Saquon, the pick you used on Daniel Jones. To me, one of those rolls of the dice is much more likely to be successful. One of those quarterbacks is much more likely to be successful. And the idea that, okay, well, listen, he doesn't have to play right away. We can do the Kansas City model. As you bring up all the time, one of the reasons Pat Mahomes sat was because the Alex Smith-led Chiefs were really good. They were coming off a playoff appearance. They were a top 5 offense Mahomes' rookie year when he didn't play. They made the playoffs that year. The Giants are coming off back-to-back years, dead last in their division. The first time that's happened since 1976, 1977. So the idea that he should just sit and wait behind 38-year-old Eli Manning, nah, man, you're going to have to play. And he, at no point, has looked ready to play.
Well, he probably will play. And whenever you draft a guy high, the starter, especially if he hasn't been playing very well, doesn't have a very long rope before he gets yanked. But when you look at Dwayne Haskins, he didn't end up having a very good market. Okay? Miami passed on him. The Giants passed on him. Denver passed on him. He goes to Washington, and Washington did everything they could to sabotage that pick and try to get someone else, or someone in that building did, try to get someone else to pick him, and nobody moved up to get. Everybody in the world knew that they were going to take him, and nobody tried to move up to get him. Now, I'm not saying that groupthink is the only thing that matters, but there's this feeling that he's a can't-miss player. There are a lot of smart people in those rooms evaluating quarterbacks, and the market spoke pretty loudly.
There is no can't miss. I agree with you.
But I'm also not saying that Daniel Jones is a future Hall of Famer. He makes sense for what Pat Schumer's trying to do. We said we were okay with Kyler Murray for Cliff Kingsbury. Okay, then we should be okay with Daniel Jones for Pat Schumer.
If he had the numbers, that Daniel Jones had, he wouldn't have been. Cliff Kingsbury and them, they would have had to do something to convince the ownership, because that's what college is about. College is about working on your skills and proving that you should be in the NFL. And I know they reach for quarterbacks more than any other positions. I know people see what they want to see. And for me and Gettleman, I would have been much preferred them getting a pass rusher and getting an offensive lineman than to try to reach for a quarterback. If Eli's going to play a couple more years, I wouldn't have had this guy going to be the guy that's going to lead the New York Giants to a couple Super Bowls. I did think Eli Manning, when they drafted him, could win Super Bowls.
And Coach, this is the question I would ask you. How difficult is it to be just, and I understand stats aren't everything, and your college tape isn't everything, and in some cases it must be nothing. But how difficult is it to be a more effective player in the pros than you were in college? Because Kyler, of course, is all these other top-ranked quarterbacks, their numbers are going to go from college numbers here to pro numbers here if they're lucky. Kyler's averaging 11.5 yards per pass. Haskins, 9. We know. For Daniel Jones to be successful, he can't stay at his college stats. He has to markedly jump. He has to markedly improve. In your history in the league, is that realistic? Is that something guys typically do?
Look, I was there in Tom Brady's rookie year. I watched Tom Brady post-practice every day. I watched him do those drills where he couldn't hit the receivers that were wide open. Okay, and there was a growth that went into that.
Tom Brady was a better player in college than him, Coach.
Which I don't disagree.
And Tom Brady got benched.
He got benched, and look, you're betting on the come to some degree that because of his work ethic, because of his intelligence, because of the system fit, because of the mentorship, because of where he played and the skilled players that he had, that there is tremendous upside here. Now, am I saying he would be my pick in that spot? Not necessarily, but do I understand why they decided to do what they did? Yeah, that part I understand. And we're not going to know anything about this draft for a couple years.
Yes.
So there's going to be a ton of grades at the end of the weekend. He got an A, he got a B+, whatever. It doesn't even matter for a couple
Coach,
years.
most people can't say this, and I tell them, no problem. I'm going to be on TV waiting on 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to be here to analyze this one.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.